Ma'am, should I start?
Sure, beta.
Greetings to one and all. Today, me and my team will be presenting a video on a lesson We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together, written by Gordon Cook and Alan East.
Theme of the story. This is a story of a courageous man and his family who managed to survive in the toughest weather of the southern Indian Ocean in spite of all odds against them. Even in the darkest of times, when it felt like they would never make it back alive, all of them never lost faith, and they managed to reach safety only because they kept fighting for the survival without falling to despair. The story starts in July of 1976 when the narrator and his family, consisting of his wife Mary, his son Jonathan, and his daughter Suzanne, embark on a sea voyage around the world in the wake of famous Captain Cook. He and his wife had dreamt of such a voyage for as long as they could remember, and for the past 16 years they had been honing their seafaring skills for the same in British waters. The narrator was clearly proud of his ship, Wave Walker, which can be the roughest weather he could find. The trip of his journey was quite plain sailing, and they reached Cape Town without any trouble. There he hired two more crewmen, Larry Vigil and Herb Siegler, as he reckoned that he should get all the help that he might need for the journey through one of the world's roughest waters, the southern Indian Ocean. Just a mere day after leaving Cape Town, they started experiencing strong gales. These continued for weeks, but while the narrator wasn't fazed by them, he was quite worried by the large wave that these gales were producing. Some of them were reaching 15 meters in height, which was as tall as the main mast. In spite of this, the family tried to ignore the bad weather and had a lovely Christmas on the boat on December 25th. However, even by New Year, the weather showed no sign of improving, but they hoped that the weather would have to change at some point of time. However, by 2nd January, the weather had gotten even worse, with humongous waves. At first, they kept sailing on storm jib, but eventually, they decided to slow down the ship and get ready for any danger. They double-lashed everything, went through their life raft drills, and donned on oilskins and life jackets.
By evening, the weather had gotten even worse. While the winds had stopped, the sky darkened, and the narrator saw a massive cloud roll towards the aft of the ship. However, to his horror, the narrator realized that it was in fact not a cloud, it was a behemoth of wave. Accompanying it was a roaring sound that was becoming louder by the second. Soon the roar increased to a thunder, and the wave collided with the ship. For a moment, the narrator thought that maybe they would be able to go over the wave, but then a massive explosion left the deck vibrating and the ship got covered by water. The narrator's head smashed into the wheel, and he was aware of himself getting launched overboard and sinking below the waves. At this point, the narrator had accepted his death and felt quite peaceful, but to his surprise, his head came up over the water and he saw his ship just a few meters away. She was near capsizing and her masts were almost horizontal. Then a wave put the ship back upright and the narrator's lifeline pulled him back on board. Subsequent waves pushed him around the deck like a rag doll, leaving him injured with a broken rib and his mouth full of blood and teeth. Somehow he found the strength to push himself onto the wheel and corrected the alignment of the ship for the next wave and hung on for dear life. By now he realized that the area below the deck was probably also full of water, meaning they might end up sinking regardless. But he dared not to leave the wheel to investigate. Then his wife Mary came out and screamed over the sound of the waves that they were sinking because the decks were smashed and the ship was getting full of water. He handed her the wheel and went below the deck as fast as he could manage to. There he found the area in a severely beaten up condition with broken timber everywhere, and the whole right side of the ship was bulged inward, and all sorts of miscellaneous items were floating in the water. Meanwhile, the two crewmen, Larry and Herb, were pumping like madmen, trying to keep the ship from sinking.
The narrator, after seeing the condition of the place, went to check on the children's cabin. There he saw that the children were all right, apart from Sue, who said that her head hurt and pointed at a big bump on her forehead. But he had no time to worry about that, and he scrambled to find some canvas, screws, and a hammer. The ship's right side had a gaping hole in it, and the narrator had to perform some emergency repairs on it to prevent the ship from sinking. While the solution was quite makeshift, and water did still pour in, it was now coming in at a much more manageable pace. With that problem out of the way, they all went to the hand pumps to try and pump out the excess water from the ship. When their hand pumps became jammed from the debris, they had to find a spare electric pump, since their regular one had short circuited, and use that to reduce the dangerously high levels of water. With this half sunken ship, they spent nearly 4 whole days before they would reach safety. The entire night they kept trying to get a response to their mayday calls, but to no avail. To make matters worse, the injury on Sue's head had gotten worse. Her head had swollen in size, and she had two black eyes and showed them a deep cut on her arm. When asked about why she hadn't told them of the injuries beforehand, she said that she didn't want to worry the narrator when he was so busy trying to save their lives. By the next day, January 3rd, the situation had gotten better and the worst was over, and they were able to get the water level to a much more manageable point. However, the ship was beyond repair at this point, and the narrator knew that there was no way that they'd be able to reach Australia in this condition. So he checked his map and found that there were two small islands that they could hopefully reach for safety. However, they would have to wait for the winds to turn to their favor, since the behemoth wave had destroyed their auxiliary engines. By January 4th, they finally managed to get the last few centimeters of water, so now they only had to keep up with the water that was coming in. So they again hoisted the storm jib and set sail to where the narrator thought the islands were. Then they finally ate their first meal in over 2 days, which comprised of corned beef and cracker biscuits.
However, the situation again took a turn for the worse when it had started looking like there would be another storm. They kept going, but by dawn of January 5th, the weather showed no signs of improvement, and the situation had gotten desperate. The narrator went down to comfort the children, and John asked him if they were going to die. The narrator tried to console him, saying that they would be make it. But the John said, "But Daddy, we are not afraid of dying if we can all be together." These words left the narrator dumbstruck, but it also filled with him a determination to fight the sea with everything he had. To protect the sea from further damage, they had to stop it by making a makeshift anchor. He and his wife spent that evening sitting together and holding hands. They both felt like the end was very near. By January 6th, the storm calmed down, and the narrator spent his time trying to figure out where they were and plot a course to the islands. Then his daughter, Sue, gave him a card that she made to help cheer him up. It had a picture of him and Mary, and on the inside she stated how much she loved them. This gave the narrator another burst of determination, and he stated that somehow they had to make it. In the end, after many calculations with the tools and information he had, he asked Larry to set a course for the angle that he hoped would get them to safety, and then dozed off. He had accepted to reach the island by 5 p.m., but when he woke up at 6 p.m., he realized that he must have missed them and that it would be near impossible to find him help now. However, at the moment, John and Sue came in and gave him a big hug, and John said that he was the best daddy and captain in the whole world. For they had reached the island, and in that moment, to him, it was the most beautiful island in the world. And now here is a little character sketch of each of the characters in the chapter. Sue. She was the daughter of the narrator, and she was 7 years old when they embarked on their journey. She had gotten quite injured when their ship had crashed, but she did not want to worry her father when her father trying so hard to save their lives. So she did not inform him how her injuries were. Even when she was clearly in pain, she never complained her father and trying to help her father in whatever way she could, like by giving him cards and drawing of him and saying how much she loved them. John. He was the son of the narrator. He was 6 years old when they went on their journey around the world. Even during the worst of times, when it seemed like that they were all about to die, rather than crying or feeling hopeless, he informed the narrator that he was not scared of dying at all, as long as they could all be together as a family. Him, his sister Sue, his mother Mary, and his father, the narrator. This gave a narrator a burst of determination to fight against the sea with everything he had, which is one of the factors which helped them to survive in this entire event.
He and her. They were the two crewmen whom the narrator had hired to help him cross the southern Indian Ocean and reach Australia, and they had indeed been a massive help to him. as they had remained cheerful and optimistic the entire time while also helping him to save the ship from sinking.
Mary was the narrator's wife and had shared the dream of traveling around the world just like the famous explorer James Cook, and she had accompanied him for 16 years while they had gone around the world on a ship in British waters. And of course, the narrator. With the help of others, he managed to save them all when their ship was near capsizing. He never lost hope, and his children provided him with moral support that he needed. He was always determined to save them and to fight the ocean with everything he had. Thank you so much for your attention.
Wow. This is really, really something. Okay, can I just request all of you, Siddharth, Sashwat, Aishwarya, and Himanshu, could you just please come on screen, beta? You just switch on your camera, all of you, just the four of you at least.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
My class on PC, so there is no webcam, so I cannot turn off my video.
Okay, doesn't matter, but I have seen you on the video. Aishwarya, where are you, beta?
Ma'am, give me some time, then I will join with my laptop for a while.
Sure, sure, sure. Everybody, you must applaud all four of them. This should come from each one of us. Each one of us. It is something I'm really amazed. I really like it, better. And Raju, I must tell all of you, you put in a lot of hard work. And Aishwarya, the entire illustration was by you only.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, better. That's like first time complete art integration. I'm saying. Lovely script, and Siddharth, you spoke really well, very balanced. The voice modulation and the pronunciation, everything went very well. Kashwat, wonderful job, beta. You tell me, you narrate to me what all did you contribute? Like here at least, Aishwarya, I know now she did the illustrations, and in fact she's looking more like Sue herself. That photograph which she has made, she resembles that only. So I guess it's a manifestation of what she had in mind about her own self. Siddharth, what about you? What was your contribution, like you said?
Ma'am, I only contributed in giving them the audio and just the speaking
Okay,
part, explanation part.
okay, right. Pashwat, what about you, beta? Pashwat, I think I.
Sorry, ma'am, there was an internet issue, but ma'am, I made the script and I did the editing of the video.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, see, this is like something amazing we also learned, and through the illustration, through the video, I think it is more effective. That's my perspective. See, when I teach you, it'll go in the same manner like the way traditionally we have been doing all these years. But this is something very unique. And in fact, you give me a reason that next time when I do that, it will be even more interesting. Rather, I'll leave it to all of you. Let me act like just a facilitator for you, and you guys teach me a lot. So that's how it's not always the teacher like who teaches, but also the students who make a difference and they teach us. So that was wonderful. Again, once again, applauses to all of you, all four of you. Do well, beta. And I'll expect a similar kind of thing from each one of you. Now, tell me, Akanksha, are you there, beta? Tell me, what did you like the best about the presentation? I want the out, like everybody should tell me, like what was the thing that you learned? Do you think it was more effective this way? What is your opinion? Akanksha, Shivansh also, Shreya is there, everybody is there.
Ma'am, it helped in conveying the story totally because the animation and explanation was
Exactly.
also we get to know the meaning of the story and the revision was also done wonderfully.
Exactly. My purpose was that also revision as well. In fact, before your exam, if you guys can put in some effort and make the first chapter as well, the poetry and all that, so it will remain with you like that. It's easier that way. So that is something nice. Very well done, beta. All of you. Himanshu is not visible, but doesn't matter. All four of you, good show, beta. Keep it up. Next time, whenever you do, it will be, and I'll share it with everybody in the other classes as well, with the other teachers as well. right? Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. Now, coming back to our chapter, today we'll do a little bit about your, what do you call, notice writing. And if time permits, a little bit of revision on that. I will send across a few questions also. Please attempt them. Though notice writing we have already done, types of writing also we have done, just a revision. Before your exam, this should be like a revision for you. So let me share the PPT with you. Just a second. Just Is this visible to you? One of you just please confirm.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So notice writing is what we'll just do. We'll just skim through. We have already, now we are not afraid to die. We have done. The other chapters were not very difficult to understand. I will share the PPTs also. I've already done a few and question answers as well. And yesterday we did the letter writing, so that was a practice. A few questions will follow after this, and notice writing now. Now, notice writing you all have done earlier also during your, I think, 8 onwards. If I'm not wrong, they start teaching you notice writing. So this is one of the most important ones. It gives you a good score as well. When you attempt your examination, this is like if you're good at it by with your practice and all these years, it fetches you good marks as well. So both ways it is easy. And like I said, notice like when you come across these notices everywhere, in fact in the schools, these are very common. You'll come across while now maybe it is almost 2 years that you haven't gone to this place, but then when we were there in school physically, whenever we used to have the assembly and when we used to rush back to our classes, on the way you would always see these notices being put on the board. Sometimes the housework, sometimes normal circulars, normal informations and all that have been put. So basically, notice is something which you convey a message to everybody, to the masses, to all of us. So basically, a notice is a medium to convey a message to the masses together at the same time. It's not possible that you go individually to each one of them and maybe give a pamphlet or give a paper or give any kind of thing. So it's basically saying that you put it across for everybody. That is why on a common platform you do it. And that is why notice is a medium to convey a message to the masses together at the same time. Now, where is it used? Where are the notices used? Why do we need it in the first place? You would ask me that why there is a requirement, why should we learn it? So this is the use that if you are there in schools, organizations, or government boards and all, these are very helpful. The notices that come out from them, the circulars that are put, the you can say important messages that are to be conveyed. In fact, earlier times, during the time when we did not have anything like email and Facebook and WhatsApp and all that, these were quite effective. Sometimes there was a concept of town hall system. So people would put that on the town hall notice board, and whenever they were free, they would come and they knew that this is the place. In fact, during my time when I was growing up, we had something called a employment news. Any kind of employment related stuff, they would put it there in that newspaper, and we knew exactly to look for it, wherever to look for it. And also certain public places which are earmarked, which are there, you know that the notices will be there. Now, why is it used? Generally to inform people about various events, issues, and public instructions. So basically, you make the people aware that these are the things that are coming up. These are the relevant information that you're going to pass on and all that. Now, while writing a notice, These are the points, these 10 points you must remember. And please also remember, I repeat it, please remember, as far as exam point of view is concerned, like I said, MCQ questions and all that, these are the points which can be of importance. You might be asked, just what is the first point in that, what all include you can do, and also there'll be options suggesting that these could be the answers. These are the points which are very, very important. First one, begin with the name of the issuing authority, institution, organization, school, or society. Right at the top. I'll show you the format, don't worry. See, what happens is, like when you are writing, if it's an MCQ question, that particular place will be kept blank for you. And you'll be asked that at this place, what exactly has to be written. So you begin by writing the name of the issuing authority, institution, organization, school, or society. Then you have the second part, leave a little bit of space and then write notice in capital letters. Then you come down to writing the date on the left hand side. Sometimes somebody writes on the right hand side also date. That's not completely wrong. You can very well write on both the sides, but yes, preferably on the left hand side, you write the date. And please remember, date should not be written like suppose today is 3rd of August. So what do you write? That August 3rd, 2021. So it should be complete thing. It should not be 03, 08 and 2021. It should be complete. I repeat it again. July 3rd, in complete terms you will write, and the year that is there. Write the word notice, then you write the date and leave enough space with that. Don't make it clumsy. Don't look. It should not look very dirty. It should look very neat. So obviously, to make it neat, you need to leave a little bit of space. Now the next one, the fourth point, there should be a title or a heading of the event in the center. Now sometimes children forget to write the heading or the title, or at times children write subject and put a column and then write the entire thing. Don't do that. You must write right in the middle, and the title or the heading, please remember, should not be more than a few words. Very few words, 3 to maximum 4. That also I'm saying too much. 3 to 4 words you should put in as the heading or the title. Then comes, see, please listen to me carefully because I'm going to ask you questions on this. Now, mention the purpose of the notice. Now, coming to the next one, the main content which is there. Don't write dear students, thank you, and all these things should not be there. All these salutations and closing and opening lines are not required in the notice. It should directly begin by this is to bring to the notice of, or this is to bring to the kind notice of whatever the person or whoever it is directed to. Now, the next one is purpose of the notice and the detail. And what should be the detail? The date, time, venue, duration, and program. I repeat again, date, time, venue. These things are very, very important. If you leave any point, your marks will be deducted. And if it is an MCQ question, there might be blank there, and you might be asked to fill up what should be the content there. Now, coming to the next paragraph, there should be 3 ideally, 2 maximum, 2 to 3, and in the second one you will put in that process and the chief guest. If at all there is a chief guest for any event, suppose you are inviting for your annual function, sports day, or some kind of a cultural festival in your school and all that. So you're going to write who's the chief guest. Now, other details, if at all it is required, whether you need to be seated at this time or where exactly like you're going to go, what will be the procedure and all that, you are going to mention next. Now, avoid the use of personal pronouns. This this is not to be written like I and all that. We don't begin by I am going to inform you and all that. This is to be informed. This is going to be, this notice brings to the knowledge or the awareness of these kind of languages should be used. Very formal and no personal pronouns to be used, and neither those thank yous and dear students and all that caption should be used. Fine. Now, second, last one, that point which needs to be remembered is that it should always be in a box, right? So this is very important that notice, like the way it should have a heading, proper heading, it should always have a proper box in it. Fine. Now the points I repeat begin with the name of the issuing authority, institution, organization, school or society. Then write the word notice in capital letters. Write the date on the left hand side. And like I said, and I repeat, the date should be complete. It should be August 3rd, 2021. Title or oblique heading of the event should be right at the center. Mention the purpose of the notice, that is the main content. In that, you will include the day, date, time, and venue, that is most important. Then you come to the chief guest, if at all he is there, other details, if it is at all relevant there, and then you come to the signing authority, like meaning who is the person who is issuing that notice. The name should be written first and the designation. Now, one more thing which I must make it very, very clear to you, do not, and I repeat, do not write X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Please avoid writing those things. Neither you should write your name. If it is meant, most of the time you are given a name, okay, that you have to write or mention that name. But if it is not given, please avoid writing X, Y, Z school, A, B, C school. Please don't write that. Give a hypothetical name. Give a normal name. A fake name can always do. You need not write your school name or your name, but some hypothetical name. Fine. But no more A, B, C and X, Y, Z. Now, the word limit should be 50. The marks distribution nowadays is 3 marks. The format carries 1 mark. The content carries 1. And expression is also 1. Now, what includes the format? Name of the institution, the notice, date, title, writer's name with designation is the format. If you miss out on any one of them, half a mark is deducted. If it is an MCQ question, you might be asked what should be put in here. Like if it is writer's name and designation, it might be kept empty for you. And from a choice of 3 or 4, it might be asked to fill up. Then content, what, when, where, who, how, and the contact. These should be the content. These are all counted under content, meaning the main body. Now, expression, the overall organization, meaning the syntax also, the sentence structure, accuracy, the fluency, the grammar. It should be grammatically correct, right? All these things should be kept in mind. Now, look at this particular picture. I hope it is visible to you. Aryan, can you just see this clip, beta? Outlay of notice.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So just see this. This is the format you are going to follow. Name of the issuing authority, school or organization, and of course the name of the place should be mentioned. Suppose it is New Delhi, please mention New Delhi. If at all the question has the name of the place, you are going to maintain that as well. So this then you have notice written very neatly, very clearly. See how it is, bold letter, NOTICE. So it is very noticeable. Anybody who goes through knows that I'm seeing something which is important. Then comes the date. And date, like I said, and I repeat, write in complete words. Don't write those figures only. Then the title and the heading right in the middle. It should not be a long sentence there. Very short, 3 to 4 words. Now the content, at least 2 paragraphs, which will contain the event, date, time, venue. If at all there is a chief guest or guest of honor or anything that you invited, or if there is any other relevant information, you are going to mention it there. Coming to the signature, name, designation. So this is how the format should look. I hope this is very clear with you. Keep this in mind. This itself could be an MCQ question. That tell me what is the blank, what do you write in that blank? What will it be? Or rather, complete this notice using the options given below. So you might be given those options and you have to write. Now, topics generally for notice writing are cultural and academic activities, picnic tours and excursions, sports, NSS, Red Cross, any kind of camps and all, lost and found, celebrations, public notices. Now, these are few examples which are there, beta. I'm going to share it with you in the class group as well. All of you must have a look. In fact, I'll do it right now because otherwise if I forget and you guys also don't mention, then it will be difficult. I'll immediately send it across. Now also you can flip through the pages. Just a second. Anybody who's got any issues understanding, please ask me any question that you have in mind, beta. Anybody? See, I've already sent you. You can open the file and just see that. See, these are various other things, how to write, lost and found. All these are sample questions. If you carefully notice them, it make your task very, very easy. So this is how it should be. The notices to be written.
Also.
Pardon me?
Ma'am, do we need to do the signature also?
Yes, you have to. At least the name you can write. Very simply, you can put the name.
Yes, ma'am. But
ideally, that is.
In some cases, we write signatures also, na?
Yeah. Just see this one. This is the outlay of the notice. This is how it is to be written. First the signature, the name, then the designation. Right? Anybody, any doubts about this? Right. So these two things are as per your requirement. Now, letter to the editor, like I said, mentioned it also. That is important. The other letters also. So you guys can have a look. Letter writing, just overlook it and just see. See, this is how it is. See, these are the ones, in fact, I was talking about. And is it visible to you? One of you just confirm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now see,
Yes, ma'am.
these two things that I'm showing you, maybe today it is obsolete. Nowadays people don't use it. But these are very common things which we use when we are growing up. One is called a postcard. The other one is a inland letter. You know, when we were growing up, we did not have this concept of email and the concept of WhatsApp and reaching fast. In fact, you know, getting a phone call, that was also like very expensive at times. So people avoided even that. You know, they would always better that you write a letter even if it reaches after many ages. So doesn't matter. But we generally would write letters to each other. But that had a different charm altogether. You know, nowadays, if you are in a mood, you can delete those. You know, if it fills up your what do you call the inbox, then what you do, you kind of delete them. Just a second. So when you delete them, but in the postcard and envelopes or these kind of inland letters, that how we address them, they are still there. You know, I remember when I went to the hostel to study, my dad would always religiously write letters to me in these inland letters, and same I would reciprocate. That you know, that relationship which we developed, the bond that we had, and those inland letters, this blue color inland letter, I still possess them. My dad used to write to me and all that, and I would always keep it. Though the letter would have nothing more than 2 lines or 3 lines stating that I'm sending you a bank draft or so much money, you pay your mess bill, you have a good time and all that, and a few lines, but meant a lot to me. Even now, some of them I have saved them, and I would really love to show my own children. So those things were there. Today, the email, the WhatsApp, and all that, I feel whenever it is full, I just simply delete it even without looking back. So these concepts have changed, the letter writing, the entire thing. Now, coming to the format, just have a look. All of you, business letters are there. This also I'm going to share with you. These are business letters which are there. Certain letters which are important for you is, see, these points must be remembered by all of you while answering the question. Like aims and objectives should be very clear. Gather all the relevant information, related documents, and previous correspondence. Decide the importance of the points. Arrange the points in order of significance. Write a draft. Like, you know, always make value points. Like, what are you going to include in this? Even if it is in the exam, doesn't matter. But at the corner, if you write certain words, it will help you out. Now, these are the ways you write letters. certain formats are carried here. This is how it was done. Now, letter writing, and this is done. Now, a little bit of revision about types of writing. You remember we had done types of writing? Do you remember, all of you? You'll have questions from this. Are you anybody who was absent while we were doing types of writing, beta? Or are you all familiar with it?
Yes.
Tell me. Right. So types of writing, see, we have narrative writing, we have descriptive writing, expository and persuasive. As far exam is concerned, this is very, very important. So you're going to at least read it once, revise it, and you might be asked that what kind of writing is it? Is it narrative? Is it descriptive? Is it expository? Or is it persuasive? Now, do you, any one of you remember what was narrative style of writing? Please tell me. Does anybody remember?
Ma'am, when we write in third person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Third person is which one? Because your narrative style is completely the first person. Because narration. So narrative style. So which one is third person?
Ma'am, the descriptive one.
Okay. And what about the others? Even I feel that descriptive writings are also in first person. So these are the common mistakes
Yes,
which you're going
could
to
be.
make. Yeah. So please remember, all of you must go through in detail about narrative style, descriptive style, expository style, and persuasive type of writing. Now, the narrative type, which you have already done, for example, you had the portrait of a lady. To a lot of extent, even we are not afraid to die. And you have a description. So, we are not afraid to die is also a very good example of descriptive writing. So much of detail about, details given about how the ship moved, what are the different parts of the ship, how they made it, the navigation mechanism also. In a very detailed manner, they gave it. So, descriptive style is used. Narrative, because first person description, and it's like an essay, and also it tells you a story, just like in this how the narrator was trying to convey. And most of the time, it is a true story. It was like after James Cook, Gordon, this Alan East and Gordon Cook, both of them took up the challenge and they started off. So the same kind of thing has been portrayed here. Now coming to expository and persuasive, these are two different ones. Now expository style, it kind of explains it in elaborate manner. It is basically clear reasons, facts, and statistical information, cause and effect relationship or examples are given. So this is something different from the other two, that is narrative and descriptive. And persuasive, of course, there is the meaning itself is to convince. So the person tries to convince the reader that this is it. In fact, when we do debates and all that, when we stand on a platform and we present our point of view, these are all persuasive way of writing. In fact, reporting and all that. So please remember the examples are very important here, and these things will be in that. Now, coming to this types of writing, I'll send it again to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me or else practice it for your exam. I'm completely directing today's class for your exam point of view. So all of you must read it carefully, do your bit. Again, I've shared it, types of writing, notice writing. And Siddharth and Aishwarya, please share the PPT which you presented now. In fact, the PPT, not the PPT, but the video. If you have a link, you can share it to us. Yeah, or you can directly send the video. So that, yeah, I'll share it with the class groups and also share it with the other teachers as well. Fine. I hope all of you are clear with this. Now, just a little bit of practice of we are not the first chapter, that is the portrait of a lady. Can anybody sum up for me? Just tell me a brief, give me a brief idea about what the chapter is all about. Bhavya, can you just brief the class about the chapter? We are not afraid to die. Yeah, Aryan, I will ask you later, beta. Let everybody get a chance. Yeah, Bhavya, are you there, beta? No? Okay, Arav Sharma, please tell me the entire crux of the chapter that is the portrait of a lady. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. In fact, when you're speaking about the portrait of lady, it will be divided into three different phases of life. So that you are describing. Okay. Yeah. Tell me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Now, Rohan, are you there, beta? Can you just brief the class about the next one? That is your poetry. That is a photograph. Rohan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Talk about the poem that we have done, a photograph, and after that we can
Ma'am,
wind up.
ma'am, in the photograph, ma'am, the author tells about
The poet, the
the
poet.
poet tells
Mm-hmm,
about his mother and the photograph of that he seen in the childhood,
mm-hmm,
his childhood photograph that he sees of him and his mother, and he remembers his
his or
memories.
her. Who's the poet, beta? Can anybody tell me who's the poet of this particular a photograph?
Ma'am, her. Ma'am, it's her.
Her, her. Who's she? Her name is Shirley Toulson. Please remember, all of you, Shirley Toulson,
Okay.
we are talking about. She talks about her own mother. She gives you an account of what happened and how she's very nostalgic. She's missing things about her life. And she says that her mother was very young when she had gone to the sea beach, having a very gala time with her, you can say, the sisters, the cousins that she had, that is Betty and Dolly. And they were like, after a few years, she was wondering, the poetess was wondering that where has that childhood gone of both the mother and hers as well. She's quite nostalgic. She's feeling quite sad. In fact, the mood is very somber and very, sad. And she misses her mother's presence. He says that had her mother been alive, maybe things would have been different. She's feeling the burden. She feels the burden of her mother's loss. That's why it's written also, labored ease of loss. So she feels the loss of her mother and she regrets it. In fact, the last line which is there, silence, silences. Both the things she mentions about the silence of death. She mentions about life coming to a standstill because the lady is no more. She remembers the smile, the laughter, everything. She becomes very nostalgic. This is like once, if somebody is around with you, you never realize the value of that person. When that person is not there, that's exactly when you start remembering, feeling really that, had that person been around, maybe life would have been different. So this is all about all the 3 chapters. We have discussed everything and a little bit of this grammar also. Please remember, I've shared exercises already with you. Practice a little bit, nominalization, homonyms, homophones, a little bit of direct, indirect speech, active, passive, a little of everything. Integrated grammar basically. So I briefed you everything. Any other thing you can ask me in the group. You can also write to me. So no problem. Please do and maintain a notebook. I repeat again, this will be assessed. Don't think that I am just beating around the bush. No, please all of you maintain a notebook, be systematic. Whatever things I'm sharing with you, the notes, the PPTs and all, at least please write the question answer and paste these things. It will come handy to you better. At the end of the day, you'll realize that they are worthwhile. Fine. So, on that note, let's wind up the class for today. We'll meet again and do well, study hard. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Vita, and wonderful presentation.